evening, everyone. Welcome to the School Board of Alachua County Board Member Meeting on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there a motion to approve the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Been moved by Mr. Hyatt.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. McNeely. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. How about the approval of the minutes for February 4th, 2020 for the school board meeting?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved by Dr. McNeely, seconded by Ms. Surgeon. Any discussion of those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Now we have a treat tonight. We have the presentation by Jeffrey Weisberg, who is the Executive Director of the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building on Restorative Justice. And he has said that, the presentation will be short and we can ask questions if you have questions.
Excellent. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is also Ben Howard, who is our director of program, so he'll be joining me on making this
Wonderful.
presentation. But thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you all today. And again, thank you for your service and your work. Our intention here is to, was that a buzzer? I thought I heard something. Sorry.
No, I don't think so.
Our intention here tonight is to speak with you a little bit about what's at stake in terms of serving our young people in schools and supporting our educators, and to reintroduce you a little bit to what restorative practices are and how we're using them in Alachua County and what our recommendations are going forward.
Okay, so when we talk about what's at stake, we have to talk about discipline and how it's currently being carried out both in Alachua County and nationally, and what some of the implications and ramifications are of that. So this first slide that we have here is from a group called Everyone Graduates Center, and this is showing the correlation between suspensions that happen in 9th grade and outcomes. So what it shows is that essentially the more suspensions that you have, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 or more suspensions, the more likely you are to drop out. That is the blue bar. You can see that going progressively up. The less likely you are to graduate, and the less likely you are to be enrolled in post-secondary education as a result of that. And this is one small piece of the pie of what we call the school-to-prison pipeline, because we know that when people are dropping out, not graduating, and not enrolling in post-secondary education, they're ending up somewhere else in society. And what statistics are showing us is that somewhere else is most often the criminal justice system. So we want to look at racial disparities in discipline. This is a pattern that exists nationally, but these are the numbers for Alachua County. The county-wide, the students are 42.3% white. This is K through 12 all combined. Those students account for only 16.5% of suspensions. This is out-of-school suspensions. There are other metrics that we use for discipline. Out-of-school suspensions are not the only one, but they are a critical one because when kids are out of school, they're losing time. It kind of compounds that issue where they end up not graduating. Conversely, when we look at black students in Alachua County, they account for 34.8% of the population, and they are totaling 71.8% of the suspensions. So when we talk about restorative justice, what we're talking about essentially in terms of what's at stake, and these numbers, by the way, come from the Florida Department of Education, from the Alachua County Department of Education website, and they're public record. This is also, I'll note that this is from the 17-18 school year because that's the most recent numbers that come out. The 18-19 will come out at the end of this school. It's always a year back. So when we talk about what's at stake in terms of restorative justice, and we'll talk about what restorative justice is a little bit more in a second, what we're really talking about is what's at stake if we do nothing, right? If we continue the punitive justice system that we have been doing, nationally and locally, by and large, we can expect to continue seeing numbers like this year after year. So I'm going to pause there and we'll take this.
So we have been practicing restorative justice for the last 8 or 9 years, and I've been a certified mediator for the Florida Supreme Court for about 25 years now, and really see that restorative justice and restorative practices is an incredibly comprehensive approach to addressing harms that have happened to people on a whole wide spectrum, from minor vandalism or public disturbances all the way to murder and rape and things like that. And so what we're looking at with in a school setting is this continuum of practices that is called restorative practices. And it has to do with really looking at language. What's the language that we use? How do we engage our young people and each other, educators, in a practice that is meant to really address the harm itself, to talk about what has happened, what was the impact, how might we repair that and prevent that from happening in the future. And so in this continuum, what we're really looking at is kind of some distinctions of the way in which we use the criminal justice system and a punitive system or exclusionary discipline. So in the punitive, you can see what rules or laws have been broken. And in the restorative lens, it's who has been harmed and what can we do about that. And then in the punitive, who did it versus restoratively, what are their needs, and really looking at kind of below the waterline at the whole person. And then what punishment do they deserve versus what actions could repair the harm, and bringing people together. I often use the analogy of when there's a break in relationship, which often happens in crime, that if we don't bring people together in certain situations, then that healing or that repair of the relationships could be damaged. And so looking at those distinctions of restorative practices, from language to conversations, restorative spaces, restorative circles. At the far end is what we call restorative justice. And those are used for more formal cases, higher level offenses, if you will. Those do take more time, and that's, I think, why we have some pushback from some schools and educators, is they just feel like they don't have the time. And so what we are looking at is how do we help to elevate the practices that educators are currently using and infuse some of the restorative distinctions of language and practices for them to be able to resolve conflicts more effectively, to build trust between their students and amongst staff, and to model a certain language and competencies that really translate to young people.
One more thing that I'll add about restorative justice is that it really has 3 different buckets that we think about, which are community building, conflict resolution, and equity development. And we started out by talking about the racial disparities because that's an equity issue that's plaguing our entire country, and definitely is an issue in Alachua County when we look at those racial disparities in discipline. But we also have to recognize that if we're just thinking about restorative justice as an alternative discipline system, that we are missing the larger picture, right? The community building and the equity development are essential. We cannot do one without doing the other 2. All 3 of them support each other. So we want to talk a little bit about what we have done so far in Alachua County, and then what we're proposing could happen to expand these programs and increase their impact. So restorative practices is in the Student Code of Conduct. That was something that the Discipline Committee put in
The
last few years. The River Phoenix Center for Peace Building has done training at Resilience Charter School, Gainesville High School, Newberry, Lincoln, and Kannapolis over the last couple of years. This has looked like just training a handful of teachers in each one of those schools and doing follow-up coaching. It has not been a school-wide implementation. We have facilitated RJ circles for schools as they've called on us to do that, and Jeffrey's been mostly doing that on a, as needed basis. And we are beginning a school-wide restorative practices implementation at PK Young, which starts in the next couple weeks and will carry through the 2021 school year. So that's the work that has been done so far. And then in terms of recommendations and next step, one of the greatest things that we need is greater buy-in. This is support, funding, personnel training, and monitoring. It's not something that we can do in a one-off training and expect culture shifts to happen. Research has pretty conclusively shown that for that cultural shift to happen in a school, it's a 3 to 5 year implementation process. Our proposal is that money and time and resources are allocated to a pilot school in Alachua County that's given that 3 to 5 year timeline, and then when we can show proof of concept that it's expanded countywide. And then just to reiterate, the top to bottom commitment to a cultural shift from restorative justice will take not just training teachers, but will take, full cultural shift from everybody who interacts with children and young people in Alachua County, from all of yourselves, in your positions, to administrators, deans, BRTs, assistant principals, social workers, and support staff. So it's really something that everybody would have to have a difference in understanding, in large part because the culture surrounding punitive justice is so normalized in our society that it really is not just a set of practices, but shifting your mind around what are we trying to do here when there is a break in relationship, misbehavior, and things like that. Are we just focused on the behavior and then punishing for the behavior, or we're trying to meet the unmet needs that the behavior is a manifestation of? So we'll pause there and take any questions that you may have.
Do you have any questions? I do. No one else does. Can you give some examples of language? You mentioned, a restorative technique of using language short of the circle, but
So
how would you diffuse a hot conflict between a teacher and a student, say?
So I'll give you an example. This is something that I read recently where there was a student who had gotten a poor grade on a test and had had a pretty large emotional reaction about it, had ripped the test up and thrown it back at the teacher and cursed at the teacher and ran out into the hallway, right? Now, where does this usually end up? This ends up in the principal's office. This ends up with some referral system, right? The principal sits down with the student, and the first thing they say to the student is, "I'm so proud of you." Why do they say, "I'm so proud of you"? They say, "I'm so proud of you" because what the principal is doing is tapping into the underlying motivation for that behavior. So that behavior is showing on the surface as anger and frustration and disrespect, right? But it comes from a place of the student really wanting to get a good grade and really being invested in it. So the principal is saying, "I'm so proud of you that you care this much that you would have this kind of reaction." And so what you can expect, what would be the reaction from the student, right? This is a student who just is ready for punishment, is ready for discipline. It's like this, right? All locked up, bursts into tears, right? And talks about the struggles that they've been having, the student's been having academically. And from there, once that was released, the principal was able to cultivate an agreement with that student where they went back to the teacher and apologized for the behavior and sort of expressed where they were coming from and what they needed. So that's just one example of how a little shift in conversation wasn't a full circle, didn't take that much time, totally shifted the direction of where that student went. Because that could have ended up in a suspension.
I see. We need a lot more suggestions given to teachers, in all the schools. I like the idea of the pilot school a lot.
There
We need
is-
more trainers.
Yeah, and there is a model also called, it's used in business, but it's called the SCARF model. And it stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And what we've found is that whether it's any kind of relationships, adults or children, that when people feel like they have some value and status amongst others, so it's a power with, rather a power over model. And they have certainty about the process. There's no big surprises of what's going to happen. They have some autonomy about their choices. They have a relatedness of having somebody in the circle that they know and trust, and then the process is fair. And so it's really, like Ben was saying, a mindset and an approach of building solutions while holding people accountable. And this can happen between students and teachers, amongst teachers themselves, in a lot of different ways that we think that this could benefit our school district more fully.
I agree. Mr. Hyatt?
I really like the idea, as Ms. Roy said, about a pilot school, and also you emphasize that this is not turn on a switch and it happens. It's a 3 to 5 year commitment. I think as we embark on this, it's very important that we don't leave our teachers on an island. We have to not only provide the best way to address all 3 issues, but we have to make sure that the teachers are given the tools, that they're given the support, that they have backing of administration, that it's all of our problems. It's not just the teacher's problem. It's something, and if the school community works together consistently on this approach, the dividends, the human dividends will pay off, in many cases throughout lifetimes. So, but I just, always want to caution, not you, caution us that we need to make sure that the teachers get the support they need to make this happen.
Absolutely.
And we can certainly send some other resources and examples around the country of different school districts that have implemented restorative practices, and there's just a plethora of information that might serve you at some point if you're interested. And Ms. Jenny has been in touch with me, so we can be in touch and get you anything else that you might need.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions. Do you have an example of a school where the culture was changed by a full implementation of restorative justice?
Two of the strongest examples of this are not just individual schools, but full districts. Is the district in Denver and the Unified District of Oakland. Oakland is probably the farthest ahead. For folks who are thinking, this will take too much time, we can't take instructional time away from teachers to do circles. What they found in Oakland, and I think is mirrored in data from Denver, is that the time that is quote unquote lost doing circles, instructional time, is made up, and that the time that you do have instructional time is not disrupted by students constantly that are maybe misbehaving because it's been resolved, right? And you're also not losing instructional time for students that would otherwise be at the building altogether because they've been suspended. So those schools have seen suspensions and all discipline, all punitive discipline infractions type of thing go down, and they've seen all their academic results go up as a result of this. But it does take several years to see it.
Okay. So I think everyone up here is in favor of certainly a fair way of handling discipline and the restorative model. So you actually provided a list of what you would like to see happen in the next few year or
we're
two.
totally open to, Donna Kidwell has really been one of our champions and we're on the discipline committee together, and she has brought in a couple different schools that we're working with. But I think that the way we've been doing just a few drops in a couple different schools is probably not worth anybody's effort. that it really needs to be a deeper dive culturally and within the systems. So that's kind of a brainstorm that we can figure out if that is something that you, as a board, would like to help move forward.
Thank you. I don't know if Mr. Moore is keeping time, but if we have a little bit of time, I would like for Jeffrey to tell us a little bit about your police youth dialogue program that you have brought to the schools and had some success. You know, where you bring the teacher and the student
Yeah,
together.
I'll just take one quick moment, but as maybe some of you know, we were really looking at how do we address the DMC numbers, disproportionate minority contact, within law enforcement, and that there's quite a large gap of trust, mistrust really, particularly between African-American youth and police. And so we've now conducted over 100 different police youth dialogues in Alachua County. And most of GPD and ASO have been trained, and we've brought in other law enforcement. And then we translated that almost exact model into schools. And as a matter of fact, we're going out to Newberry High School to do 2 educator-student dialogues back to back. And what we see is that in the restorative practices continuum, this is a restorative conversation between 2 groups of people that might not know each other or trust each other or understand each other. And so it's a really, really profound way of having young people give full voice to what they want and what their concerns are. We do a role play, so the kids are the teachers and the teachers are the kids. And the instruction is for the teachers to do anything that they've ever experienced in the classroom. And if you can imagine, it's chaos. And the kids are trying to present a lesson, and it's impossible. And it's one of those kind of experiential moments for them to go, whoa, I am so sorry that I participated in this myself. And so we're really wanting to continue that within our restorative practices to more schools.
And you could train people to be
Facilitators.
moderators to
Absolutely.
do this.
Yeah, we would love to do that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
And was there any other board comment or questions?
Okay, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you, Mr. Weisberg and Ben. Thank you. Okay, now we have board member superintendent announcements, and I see Ms. Clark's light is on first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The past couple of weeks have been quite difficult for the Alachua County Public Schools family. We lost an employee as well as 2 students over the last couple of weeks. First is Ms. Vivian Beach. She's served as a paraprofessional archer for 21 years and passed away unexpectedly. And her son and daughter-in-law were actually employees of the district as well. So we've extended condolences on the board's behalf to Ms. Beach's family. And then also 2 students, Santa Fe High School student Timothy Caldwell and Norton Elementary School student Marley Fink. As I've mentioned, we've extended condolences on behalf of the board, but it has been a particularly tough time over the past couple of weeks having those things so close together. So just to keep them in your thoughts as these families heal from these tragedies and sad times. And then second, yesterday afternoon, evening, the county, many of you are aware, hosted a Truth and Reconciliation meeting at the Senior Center. We had some staff members present for that meeting. This was actually something that was raised by one of our board members at our recent retreat. While there wasn't really specific board direction, that wasn't really there because there was not a vote or anything taken at that time. We took that back and started having some internal discussions with some staff members on some very preliminary things that we would take a look at as part of that process. One of those that had been brought to us by a citizen over the past couple of months was looking at the potential renaming of our schools, one of our schools in particular, based on the name and the history associated with that name. So as part of that, that is a process that we have to follow through the Department of Education anytime you change the name of a facility. And if that's something that the board would wish to pursue, we would bring forth a process to the board so that you would understand the timeline and what that would take to be able to do that. And of course, then we would want to engage the community in providing input into a new name for any facility that we would choose to rename. So we would look to bring that to the board at some point here in the very near future. If that's something the board wishes to pursue at some point, the process would be laid out so it would be very clear for board members. And then also in the very near future, the other things that we're starting to talk about and take a look at as to how our district could potentially participate in that process with the county and the city and the other municipalities. We'll be bringing that forward in the near future as well as soon as we get some more information and some details worked out for the board.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Clark, I think Mr. Hyatt was next.
I had the pleasure of attending the musical Xanadu performed by the East Side Drama Department. And if you want a fun evening, and I think fun's the operative word, but great harmonies, great choreography, funny, good acting. And they have 3 more performances, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. So if you have a chance, and you know, we have such remarkable drama programs at all of our high schools, and or I should say most of our high schools. If you get a chance to see these young people, you would be, I wouldn't say go see them because there are students. I'd say go see them because you will have a great time and very, very worthy of that. So I know we have more. This is a time of year where we have music performance assessments for bands and choruses, and we have a lot of drama productions coming up. So if you get a chance, I'd say it would be well worth your time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to share with my colleagues that I serve on the University of Florida's Board Center for Addiction Research and Education. And the meeting that we held on yesterday was very powerful in that they were trying to brainstorm how can we get more involved with our community. So naturally, with me sitting there, I was proud to boast that number one, they needed to contact Superintendent Clark about relevant things that we are doing in the district, as well as Mrs. Carter with the system of care, Mrs. Taylor, who is over all of the counselors in our school system, and that they could naturally help with some of the things that we're dealing with in the district that would tie into addiction. I named a couple of things that we've been wrestling with, but I think that we can partner. We should be willing to partner with this center and seeing what can we do overall for the school system, for the community. And so I've highlighted 3 names. The superintendent is looking funny. Mrs. Clark, our leader, and then Mrs. Taylor over counseling and education, and Mrs. Carter for system of care. I did want to mention to you that tomorrow, I can't believe, February the 19th, please don't, and I can share this with you afterwards, but the topic is coercive condom use resistance and understudied behavior in the alcohol, sexual risk, and sexual violence nexus. And so I think it's going to be at the Rice Union at 3:00 p.m. tomorrow. And then on April 6th, there's the big 8th annual symposium, and the topic will be risk, resiliency, and recovery. And that's something that I'm sure some of us here in the district or colleagues might be interested in. So I wanted to put that out there. And then an invitation for all of us, including the superintendent and staff. You know Mrs. Dolores Goldston and how adamant she is when it comes to our Black History Luncheon. That is 11 o'clock a.m. on February the 27th at Lincoln Middle School, Black History Soul Luncheon. We never want to miss that. So she has extended that invitation to all of us, including the superintendent and other staff. Okay?
Thank you, Dr.
Sure
Bailey.
enough.
We will not miss that lunch.
Okay.
I never,
Very good.
never do. The other thing, I was just gonna say to you, the Health Promotion and Wellness also is working on addiction services. And, I'm a member of the board that's on that committee.
Okay.
And they had a big vaping, opioids.
We
you
came
know.
up with some of those yesterday, yes.
We had a big conference at GHS
Okay.
a month and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I put your name down, Mrs.
No.
Roy?
Oh,
for
please don't.
assistant?
No, but the Health Promotion and Wellness and the director certainly would be very, what's her name? Getting old, I can't think of her name. I'll get her name to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you.
Ms. Surkin.
Thank you. It was kind of, I'm trying to back up off of running so much, but it seems like the appointments are never ending. But the only thing I'd like to highlight and mention today was last week I got to attend the NAACP's Founders Day luncheon, and it seems that it was put on over at the Historic Cotton Club. Very good program. Miss Annie Pearl Curtis, as you all know, she comes and she speaks to us here at the board, but she sung the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and that's her song. I tell people in the county, I don't care where you go and who sings it, that Miss Annie Pearl Curtis has made that song her own, and she did a beautiful rendition. I think it's kind of floating around out there on Facebook if anybody wants to hear it, but we appreciate the NAACP and all of their advocacy for equality and for the rights of all students and citizens of Alachua County, and it was a wonderful luncheon.
Thank you, Ms. Surkin. Okay, Ms. Clark?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, if there's nobody else, we will then go to citizen input. Please come to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes. Well, let me read 15 minutes will be provided for citizens to address the board prior to the regular business meeting. It's requested that you keep your comment to approximately 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chair, board members. I'm Kerry Bryan. I'm the first vice president of NAACP,
Okay.
Alachua County branch. I'm here to address the video that's gone viral on Facebook about it's a teacher that's using the N-word. It's not clear where the conversation started or how it, came about. But that's the only thing that's clear is the term he's using. The community we're concerned about why this is happening or why did that happen. So, we're not asking for jobs or anything else because it's not that clear what sparked on the conversation. All we know is you can hear that clear. And I don't know what kind of class that was, if he's into African American studies or whatever the case may be. He shouldn't have been having that conversation with those kids because it was a shock and awe for even some of the students, black and white, that he was saying that. So we was asking, did you know about it? Did you hear about it? And what's going to be your take? How are you going to handle that situation? Is it going to be reprimanded or verbally written or whatever the case may be? Because we don't know the source of what started the conversation, but we're not asking for a job or anything. We're just trying to get some clarity to the community on why did that happen and
Yes, sir.
what sparked the
Yes, sir,
conversation.
we know about it, and it's being taken care of, but we can't say anything about it.
Gotcha.
But we are aware of it. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ryan.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Harry Jones, Madam Chair and the board. I'm a product of the Alachua County School Board here in Gainesville. Graduated from Gainesville High School in 1975. I've been meeting with some people in my community, and we got a hold of some things, and they have some concerns that I character voice in this 180 seconds before you tonight. The first thing is we got a copy of this thing called the Achievement Comparison between white and African American students here in Alachua County. There's concerns about over the years from 2014 to 15 all the way up to even now 2019, the gap has not closed. There's an average gap between blacks and whites concerning learning in our school system at an average of 45%. And in the different things that is, got English, language, arts, you got so many things that's going on. We got science, we got math, we got history, we got reading. I look at the sign that's up there, we are committed to the success of every student. I'm just coming tonight to voice the opinion of people that I've been meeting with, parents. They got some concerns about what's actually happening in the school system. I'm alarmed because what I'm gonna actually do, I'm gonna try to figure out, go back and find out what was the ratio, what was the educational gap between African Americans and whites during the time I were in school. Because I didn't see that, I couldn't experience that. And our children are being crippled by that because on their way to school, they already feel defeated. So it's something that I'm just bringing here tonight for you all who sits as the head of this Alachua County School Board. And maybe we have to address this issue in a way, maybe we have to do what Teddy Pendergrass said in 1973. Maybe we got to learn how to teach a new way, to reach the students in every aspect, in every race. And last but not least, it was brought to our attention, and I just want to say here tonight, not placing blame on no one or nothing. When a candidate is up in the election in the city of Gainesville or in Alachua County, there's a law that states that that candidate cannot communicate with those who sits on the board here by email or whatever it may be doing working hours. And that's under, it comes from the 2020 Candidate Campaign Treasure Handbook, section 106, 3 Florida statute. Used in service of state, county, municipal, or district officer or employees. It states a candidate may not, in the furtherance of their candidacy for nomination or election to public office in any election, use the service of any state, county, municipal, or district officer or employee of the state during working hours. Listen, it's out here. People are talking about it. So I'm just coming tonight representing people who have children in school and who's concerned about the election being fair across the board.
Yes,
Because
sir.
3 minutes are up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
All right,
much
okay.
for
Have a
bringing
great
this
evening.
to our attention. Thank you, sir. Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Rebecca Gomez. I'm Sarah Moore. I'm Megan Corey. Madam Chairman and board members, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. We are senior students in the UF nursing program, and we, as part of a project, we are implementing a partnership between Wiles Head Start Elementary and local high schools here in Alachua, in hopes to provide a unique opportunity to allow high school students to receive mentorship skills, have access to volunteer hours, and to be able to cultivate a fostering environment for the children. In turn, this would benefit the Head Start program by allowing the kids to have more interactions with people in the community, giving the teachers more time to complete their tasks, and continuing to foster growth and development in the preschoolers. The literature shows that stimulating interactions in early Head Start settings and ensuring high-quality care for preschoolers is an important way to enhance social and academic outcomes later in life. Through the aid of high school volunteers, we hope to allow the students to have a more structured activity time that will foster their growth. We are excited about this opportunity, and we wanted to bring it to your attention in hopes that if you have any questions or suggestions that you can give us, we'd like to implement. Thank you for your time.
It sounds like a wonderful program. Thank you so much for giving both the seniors and the Head Start students the opportunity. Thank you.
And we got a bite with the East Side High School, so we plan to communicate with them within the next couple of days and hopefully get the ball rolling on this.
Great. Maybe you could give your contact information to Mr. Moore in case he's the attorney at the end of the,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? All right, then, we'll go on to the consent agenda. The super,
Thank you, Madam
Mrs.
Chair.
Clark.
Thank you. That's okay. I recommend that the school board approve the consent agenda as described in items 1 through 9.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Hyatt,
Second.
seconded by Dr. McNeely. Is there any discussion on any of the items? Seeing none, all in favor then? Opposed? And the motion passes 5-0. We are now at the action items. Mrs. Wise?
Thank you. Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Clark. I'm here with the proposed 2020-21 school calendar, and the superintendent recommends that the school board approve the proposed calendar as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a
Yes,
a
ma'am.
comment.
Yes, Dr. McNeely?
Ms. Wise, I compared what we are currently under with where we're going for next year, and it's only like 2 days discrepancy from what we're doing currently. And all I have to say is with instructional staff coming back on August the 3rd, if we don't watch out, we're gonna be in July. And so I don't know how teachers feel about the earliness year after year, and I know we do that for certain reasons, and now
ma'am.
we are getting out before June, which
Right.
is a good thing to look at too, but it was just
Yes,
funny, when
ma'am.
I took a look at it, I said, August the 3rd.
Right, it shouldn't continue to get a lot earlier. We do try to end as close to the very end of May as we can because of the legislation surrounding the testing window.
Yeah,
And you can't open your testing window more than 4 weeks before the last day of school, but there's a date certain when it's going to close. So just, if we went till June 10th, we wouldn't be able to open the window until
Sure.
May 10th, but the window will still close on the 28th.
sure.
So all of the districts are, actually, I did quite a bit of research, and they almost all exclusively are having the same start
Same
date as we are.
time frame.
Yeah, it happens, sometimes when winter break moves around to where it's easy for it to start and stop on Mondays and Fridays, and then sometimes you get to where it's in weird places in the middle of the week. And I do think, hopefully it'll start going back a little bit, but we're probably, unless this legislation changes, always going to be looking really hard at ending school at that very end of May so that we can maximize the testing window and the instructional days preceding it.
2 more things.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the opening, because you didn't know when you made this calendar, when the University of Florida's homecoming would be, so you have question mark, or did you change it?
It is confirmed that
Oh, it's confirmed
homecoming is
now?
October 3rd, so when it goes up after approval, that is the homecoming holiday.
October
on
3rd.
October 2nd is the day that
Second.
we're off school. 3rd is the homecoming football game.
Okay, and I had one other question. If it comes back to me,
still
I'll come
be
back
here.
and
Okay.
ask it.
All right.
Thank you.
Mrs. Clark?
Just a couple things to reiterate. Statutorily, we cannot start school prior to August 10th. So this would be the earliest potential that school would start. And of course, the 2-day difference, we've got leap year. So it would normally only be a 1-day difference, but leap year threw us into 2 days. So it will not ever start earlier than August 10th. There are some districts that start on August 10th no matter what day of the week it is. So they might start school on a Thursday. We haven't explored that. That doesn't mean we can't some year, but we don't normally do that. Normally it's a Monday start to pre-planning and then a Monday start to school. So it should actually be a little bit later next year. But at the end of the day, the length of the school year is still the same and the length of the summer is still the same. So even though we're coming back earlier, we're getting out earlier. So that doesn't that doesn't change, just the positioning of the calendar changes, but not that. And we did finally get confirmation from UF on homecoming, so that's what was our big holdup this year. We're looking at some different options next year of potentially bringing the calendar forward, even if UF doesn't have a confirmed homecoming, and then we can always come back and change if we need to. I mean, you can, by process of elimination, there's generally 2 dates we can pick from, and some years we got it right, and other years we didn't. So we are looking at potentially doing that because we know families want to plan. But we may have to then bring it twice to correct homecoming next year, but we'll see how that goes.
Madam Chair, I remember.
You remembered.
I
Go ahead.
remember. Ms. Wise, we had a citizen, and I don't recall the date, that she said when we planned for this year, if we could stay away from that. I think it was a religious something. Do you recall that? We had a citizen to come. Mrs. Clark.
I'm having a senior moment,
Right.
I'm not recalling.
I know that we've had some issues with the testing window because Passover generally falls in the testing window. It's a little bit different now because it is a little more spread out with the computer-based test instead of, the 1 or 2 days of paper-based test. And the window is a little bit later, so we do try to avoid that if we can. Unfortunately, sometimes.
The April window?
That April window. And sometimes, unfortunately, as those dates move and the state gives us a window, we can't completely avoid it, but we try our best to mitigate that as best we can because we get that testing window dictated to us.
So are we
We're,
good? Are we good?
Well, we're pretty clear. Again, we can't completely avoid, but the
window is open long enough for a
Yes.
student to be at excused absence for a religious holiday during the window and still come back and take their exam.
Okay.
so if they want to be absent the entire time. A lot of students, when I did meet with that family, like the first day, I guess, is the most important. So some of them would miss day 1, but not miss the other days. But there are some families that wanted to keep their children out the entire time, which is perfectly allowable. So we do have that option for them.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark. Dr. McNeely. Mr. Hyatt?
Well, I know everyone on the dais knows this, but for the public, I just wanted to mention that the determination of the calendar is done by a calendar committee, and that's the district working with the ACEA. So we're not imposing a calendar on employees. We're cooperatively seeing what's best for everybody. And so I think it's been that way for quite a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Dr. Paulson?
Well, I was gonna say the same thing. It's in the contract, it has to be before March. ACA has a committee, and I know they ask their employees what they want, and they come to the school board, and they work together to come with the,
And we did exactly that.
exactly like that,
Yes.
because you wondered how the teachers felt. Well, we know how they feel. So I think that was, need to be said.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson. Thank you, Ms. Wise.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
Mike, our student representative, couldn't be here tonight, but he did want me to pass along that in his discussions with fellow students about the calendar, the general consensus was that they were good with it. They didn't have any objections, at least, to any part of it.
That's good to know. Thank you. All right. We've had a motion and a second, and now it's time for a vote if there's no other comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And hearing none, the motion passes. And finally, we are at Mr. Moore, amendments to instructional job descriptions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the second reading for the school social worker and what was formerly called guidance counselor job descriptions. These are largely, with the school counselor, we're changing the name, and with the social worker, we're just adding eligibility in terms of minimum qualifications. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the proposed amendments to the instructional job descriptions, school social worker, and guidance counselor as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hyatt,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Certain. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes 5-0. I forgot to ask if anybody opposed, I guess no one did. All right, and now we're finally out at citizen input again.
Good evening, Ms. Chair, to all you all serving Diane McGraw, community member. If we want the data to improve, we got to really start looking at discipline. I've had the opportunity to be visiting different schools in the past couple of months. Discipline is totally out of control. I was glad to hear the presentation tonight, but we must begin to look at behavior interventions, behavior management in the classroom. Teachers are not being able to teach. We must become more progressive and aggressive when it comes to making sure we can change the behavior. You have an evolution, unfortunately, of young parents, who are close in age and proximity. So we have to begin to look at how we're going to deal with these families that are coming into our schools every day, because learning is not happening. I am trained as a behavior management. I was sharing with Mr. Weisberg when he was leaving. I'll be glad to come to some of their restorative practice discussions, because behavior is totally out of control. We have teachers, we have bus drivers, we have a lot of people who work in our public school systems who are ready to give up because of the behavior. And we can no longer ignore how they're feeling every day, because coming into the school, if I have a child that's tearing up my classroom every day, you have to have behavior curriculums that are in place that's able to deal with their children. And when you have a behavior management team, that's not an assistant principal or a BRT who's coming dressed in a suit. I deal with behaviors every day. I deal with intensive behavior when you're dealing with people who have substance abuse issues, physical and verbal aggression. You have to be able to be trained to de-escalate a situation, but also be able to handle if someone is bringing harm to others in the classroom. But at this point, we have got to look at, if we want to improve as a district, we've got to begin to look at how we're going to handle our discipline problems in the area. And that means you may have to deal with the parents. So I think now it is time for school board, ASO, GPD, if you have home liaisons, all of the people, truancy officers are going to have to be in place. We have got to get everybody to the table. Any agency with dealing with families and children have to come to the table and begin to have a conversation, because discipline is a huge problem in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGraw. We have a discipline committee too, if you would like to attend those meetings.
Yes, I've been to one of the, I've been to Ms. Kidwell, I have, but what I'm talking about, it's more progressive than what you have currently, because you have an evolution. It's a different group, different type of children that you're dealing with, and you have to be able to get the behavior under control. These kids are at the point there's no respect whatsoever. And if I'm trying to teach in the classroom, I can't teach at all. So our academic, we want to deal with changing we want to make public school safe for everyone. We want to make sure children are coming to school learning. But at this point, what we have in place, we just need to improve upon in a more progressive way, is what I'm saying.
Thank you, I understand. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board?
Julie Crosby, Madam Chair, Board. I'm just listening tonight, and it occurs to me the two gentlemen who got up and gave public comment and then tying everything together. And I was at your recent, as an observer at your recent equity workshop. I don't think it's a coincidence that the same evening these two gentlemen get up and speak. And I understand that an employee's situation cannot be discussed, but to have them, the first gentleman spoke about this incident and this very egregious term that a teacher has used that's on a viral video that the community has now seen. And the second gentleman discussing the achievement gap of many years now. These things, and the fact that you have to have an equity workshop, which I observed, listened to, and that there's not a public apology coming from the dais. That doesn't take any kind of HR to say to these gentlemen, we're sorry that an employee used that word in a classroom with students. There's a connection. There's a connection between student achievement
and the valuing of students of color. There is a connection between students' self-worth and achievement. And the fact that you can't just simply give a public apology and make a statement, there's a connection, and that's all that I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one then, and what were to board members' superintendent requests? Dr. Paulson, I think.
Yeah, I was, I think you all got sent out an email about, on these Tuesday workshops. I have a health problem in our family, that we have somebody that can be with my, person in my family on Wednesdays. So I was hoping, since we've never had these workshops before, we could have them on Wednesday. It would be very beneficial for my handling of my situation. And this is something that you had suggested on Tuesday. And all I'm asking is, instead of Tuesday, we can meet on Wednesday afternoon.
That's agreeable with me. I think it also would alleviate the time of us trying to be rushed and make, the end of workshop before the meeting, before the next
Sure.
meeting. So if that works for everyone else, I'm agreeable to that.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
It doesn't work for me in April, because I already have plans for that time, but I certainly want to help Dr. Paulson out, and we would all do this, family always comes first, and I would say that, if I don't know what we need to do motion-wise, that might have to be next meeting, but I'll just say that I think anytime we can make an adjustment to help any of us with our family situations, we should do that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I certainly agree with the other colleagues. That's not a problem to switch. And if we can make that decision real quick, we can, because my calendar is packed, but I don't mind changing to a Wednesday if that will benefit the family of Dr. Paulson.
Fine with me too, so.
Okay.
Is set enough?
Well, we'd already moved the
Next one.
March workshop to Wednesday anyway because of the event at Oak-Hammock. So that was, though, in the November reorganization as a motion of the scheduling of meetings. So I assume we need to bring it back officially, and we can do that at the next board meeting. That should be an easy agenda item to bring.
Okay.
So that we will have it officially. So,
Thank you.
so April 6th would start the official move of all of that.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Dr. McNeely.
Thank
the
you.
liaison.
I know we normally don't comment to our citizens who make requests or recommendations, but I had a meeting today with a group in transportation, and one of the key things that they continued to say to the director is that we're not getting the support from especially the schools. When drivers are trying to watch the road and discipline the kids who are not listening, not sitting, not doing as asked by the driver, the adult, then we do have a serious problem. And when I looked at that television report last week with that bus, I don't think it had anything to do with discipline, probably weather, and it was over on the side and how many kids had to be rushed to the hospital. I said, thank goodness that's not happening in Alachua County, but it could because of the distraction that's going on the buses. So either we need to find extra funds for more monitors. We have 4, and 4 cannot handle 142 employees. I was told today we have 142 employees as drivers. 2 of them are on medical leave, so that leaves 140. And we have 129 routes. So all of this is comprised into what can we do differently to help those employees whose main responsibility is to pick up children and get them back to their homes with safety. So I'm putting that out there so that this board, whenever Attorney Delaney can figure out for another general meeting, we have to discuss this. Or put it on the agenda or workshop it, however we need to do it. But it needs to happen quickly. It should not be put to the side. We're talking discipline. We had a citizen tonight to talk about it instructionally, but I heard it today via the employees, okay? So the next thing I want to say is to the citizen who got up and said about our apology. I accept the slap on my wrist because if anything, I should have opened my mouth. And I do apologize publicly to the citizen who approached us in that manner. I thank you for chastising us. That's it.
Okay, Dr. McNeely, any other comments? No? Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.